Friends, welcome to an informative session on data modeling. It gives me immense pleasure to share my experience on something which I have been doing for a while. So let us see what is the flow of training in this particular topic. I will do an introduction to data modeling followed by stages of data modeling, unified data modeling, normalization, denormalization and data auditing. So in the introduction to data modeling, we will have a detailed look at definition and essentials of data modeling, objective of a data model, characteristics of a good data model, what are the benefits of a data modeling process, that is the process benefit and the product benefit, different data models and case tools, modeling methodologies, bottom up and top down modeling methods, IDF1X and IE. So before starting data modeling, let's see what is the definition of a data model. What do we mean by a data modeling process? So data modeling is we have a lot of information within an organization or an organization who is conducting its business. It has a heap of information which is in an unstructured manner, and data modeling is applying structure to that heap of information with two things in mind. One is retrieval and ease of access. And organization would be another way by which a data model is created. So it is a subjective task in which one has to train his mind to look at things within a certain framework, and the framework is the normalization and the denormalization process. That is, it lies as the heart of that particular process or the data normal or data modeling. However, what is core to it is having a prerequisite knowledge of business, company, process, and the pain area or the problem domain for which we are conducting a data modeling task. Technical skills which are required are mathematical basic set theory, that is union intersection, that is one should be able to understand how to isolate and break things or break an entity into different entities, programming and scripting, a little bit of, and database technology, because a model is created which is specific to a particular database. So the database technology for which you are conducting for which you are conducting this exercise, and the data itself, because the data will give perspective of how to organize itself. So whenever we start for a new project, understand how projects are aligned to corporate goals. For every business, let's say it's an FMCG company or some other company, it has its own corporate goals for which is decided by the very top brass of the senior management, and to these particular goals the rest of the organization has to align to it. All the projects has to align to those project goals or those corporate goals. So research on the corporate goals, conduct the strategic business initiatives of that particular organization to reach that corporate goals, underline business requirement of that particular business initiative, understand how your project is aligned or is aids that particular strategic business initiative, and understand how database management processes on the other side are that is the existing database management processes are tied with the database design and performance, so as to overcome the bottlenecks of performance tuning, administration, backup and recovery, and all those tedious tasks. So to analyze, one has to first, to summarize, one has to first analyze the entire industry or the domain, whether it's an FMCG company or it's a pharma company. The domain and the industry knowledge will help you understand the current trends which are happening in the market, and it will also help you understand and analyze the organization, its business in terms of its industry. Also gain a perfect knowledge of the mission, vision, and values of that particular organization, because it is this mission, vision, and values will which will actually provide an understanding of the business drivers, because it is these business drivers which are aligned to achieve this mission, vision, and values, and these business drivers will have their key performing indicators, whether those business drivers, how they are performing. Okay, that is something indicated by the KPIs, and these KPIs are nothing but an outcome of a process value chain. So at the end of day, what we model is a process. So this gives you a vivid understanding of how an industry or a domain sinks down through organization to business drivers to key performance indicators and the process. Try to segregate your transactions from your BI, because transactions require a different kind of database and a BI requires a data warehouse. Model the database for transactions through RDBMS and for BI through OLAP layers. Definition and essentials of data modeling. A data model is a conceptual representation of a data structure or tables required for a database and is very powerful in expressing and communicating the business requirement. It is a vehicle for communication across the organization with the senior management who are non-technical people, as well as with developers who are technical people but who need to understand the business process well. So data modeling is creating data structures from a business process. As you can see over here, the knowledge of business and the business process is utmost important and mandatory for data modeling. Just knowing the modeling techniques will not help at all. It will just create sound structure of the data, but or the sound structure of the data model, but it may not relieve the business from the pain area. So understanding the business process is utmost important. Knowledge of business, company, and process is essential for modeling. Business process in general is important because business process provides knowledge of how to break things down into smaller pieces and isolate independent and interdependent units. So once a knowledge of breaking of things comes into action, you are essentially doing normalization and identifying independent and interdependent relation units is nothing but understanding the relationships between the various smaller pieces of information. So data modeling is quite a labor intensive task, and it's a very time consuming task of a development process. However, unfortunately, many a times data models or the process of data modeling is not given enough time for uh, for it to capture the business requirement and model it appropriately. Partially, we are also responsible for it because we are not able to communicate to the management convincingly enough that so as to provide us more time for data modeling. Data modeling is the process of describing information structure and capturing business rules. And when we are doing a data modeling, it has to be done. It is highly recommended that it is done hand in hand with function modeling. That is the whenever a business or a BA or a uh, business development team, okay, goes and tries to understand or analyze the existing process of the organization, uh, and they are creating their UML and hippo diagrams, then it is it would be great if a data modeler also assists them for that particular during that particular process, because many a times it happens that functional models tend to validate a data model and uncover new data requirements. And many a times, missing data requirements are highlighted by the data modeler, which helps the functional guy or the BA to seek for any missing process which he may have encountered during his business requirement gathering exercise. So data modeling, uh, what are the inputs and output of a data model? DRD, FSD, SRS are the core inputs to a data model. Other inputs like user requirement document or a UI design or data requirement documents are other inputs for a data model. However, it is not a very good way to start on with a UI design for data modeling, because UI design will not provide a proper understanding of the business process. It will just provide the elements which are gathered onto a particular screen, and many a times those elements may be non-related, and they do not provide uh, much. Rather, they may be misleading at times. NFR or the non-functional requirement is one of the most important document for data modeling, and it is more often than not it is ignored completely by data modelers. It is the NFR which can influence a data model to such an extent that it may require a complete revamp of the data model. For example, non-functional requirements would be supporting multiple languages, and if you have not created or made a provision for this particular NFR, it may require you to change the entire data model nearly each and every screen or each and every entity for that matter. Business process models are most important because they help you understand the business and how it works at 50,000 feet. Because a macro understanding of the business process is at most important. It will help you understand which are the entities which are related to each other and which are the entities which are interdependent and independent of each other. The outcome of a data modeling exercise would be an ER diagram, that is an entity relationship diagram, which will have documentation, business rules, decision logs, and data dictionary, definition of each entity and a relationship, and the reasons why a particular relationship uh, is in place. It will give a technical view of the entire of the entire business process which is being modeled. So characteristics of a good data model would be it needs to be consistent, it needs to be flexible, that is able to accommodate changes, it needs to be complete. The most important thing is it needs to be complete and should permit top-down specification at various levels. Now, complete data model at many a times is not possible. Rather, a model could be a means to an end, but it cannot be an end of data. It cannot be an end. However, it has to be complete in the sense that the entire business problem needs to be responded through that particular data model. It should not have non-redundancy, which means that one should not have a particular fact stored at multiple places, and maybe when updates are made, if facts are not consistently updated, they will fall uh, out of alignment and contribute towards redundancy. Enforcement of business rules has to be carried out properly, and it has to be documented properly in such a way that uh, any data modeler or any new person is able to understand by looking at the comments or definition or annotations made within the data model. Data must be atomic in nature. One has to encourage master driven data modeling culture, because it is this particular master driven data modeling culture which will help to provide stability and flexibility to your data model. When we say stability, it is in the face of changing environment. We do not need to modify it at all. And flexibility is, if at all there is a change, it can be readily extended in and accommodated uh, within the existing structure with minimal impact. Integration is most important for a good data model. It must be able to provide a basis in terms of having a common view on which how data is organized and comply with organizational standards for data definition and formats. It also provides a basis for the ongoing projects or for the new projects to understand that what are the sources of a particular column or an entity, and how it is being populated or where a particular information is lies. Because in a business, data models are there are many applications small and systems which are created sometimes in parallel, and more often than not they are created in parallel and sometimes in isolation as well. As a result, integration plays an important role in the data modeling exercise. So one has to understand the uh, enterprise standards which are in place. Qualities of a good data modeler: he must be a person how who should have a know-how that how a particular uh, that a model is not only structurally correct, but building one is accurate from a business perspective. That is, it has to relieve the business pain area. It has to resolve the business problem. The best quality of a good data modeler is modeling right the first time. The more there are changes to the model made in the subsequent life cycle of a development project, the more would be the technical debt which is incurred, and more would be the and more it would be uh, an expense to the project. Modeling right for the first time reduces cost, risk, and also makes the life of developers quite easy. It A good data modeler makes data model accessible to everyone, provides uh, in on-time reports to all the stakeholders, and tries to overcome the and tries to make the communication as early as possible and as accurate as possible to all the stakeholders of a project. It may be a project manager, it can be a relationship manager, it can be a developer and a tester team and the BA team as well. Modeling skills are fundamental to data modeling position, and they include modeling the environment establishment. This is the day zero model environment what you create. It will be the de facto uh, relationships how they are created. That is RI rules or relationship integrity rules what you are trying to create uh, on the day zero. uh, it can be how the look and feel of a particular data model which you are trying to create. What is the subject area across which you are trying to organize the model? Entity relationship model development, data model maintenance. That is during the life cycle of a development project, we will or there would be many instances in which a data model has to be changed or modified, or new entities may be required to be added and new relationships are required to be created. So data model maintenance is a is a challenge for every data modeler, or to every data modeler and to any data modeling assignment. Normalized and dimensional modeling techniques a person should be proficient with, along with the modeling tool. And why a modeling tool proficiency is a must. A data model should be developed using a data modeling tool the modeler must be because a data modeler needs to understand how to import data structures that can be used as starting points, how to efficiently use the tool, and how to leverage features of the tool in order to increase productivity, accuracy. The tool also helps to capture, maintain, and disseminate metadata information to all the stakeholders. Advantages or benefits of a data model. It helps tuning the performance during the design phase. If we are aware of the volumetric information, then we can definitely create a proactively tuned data model. It also helps in infrastructure planning. A flexible and consistent data model leads to stable application even in the face of changing requirements. A data model can clarify data patterns and potential uses of data. This will be very important during the BI phase where data patterns needs to be extracted and business intelligence needs to be applied or extracted from the existing data. And over here, a company can make huge amount of gains through by understanding the competition ahead of time and increasing revenue by following or understanding certain patterns and trends which are there in the market. It provides a clear picture of the referential integrity constraints and enables usage of database and application development staff to define system requirements and to communicate among themselves and with the end users. Two most important benefits of a data modeling exercise itself is the effort and the product of the effort. That is, effort when I say, I mean to say uh, the benefits which are reaped during the process, and product of the effort, that is the product is the model itself and the benefits reaped by the model once it is developed. So let us see both of them. When a benefits, what would be the benefits for a model? Would be a model is a business user driven, and it acts like a communication vehicle with the business. The emphasis is on requirements rather than constraints and solutions when it comes to uh, business. Okay, a model is or a data model is independent of the actual physical environment in which a particular database is going to get implemented. It is an unambiguous specification of what is being modeled or what is being asked for. The model provides a context to focus discussions on what is important to the business, and this is most important because many times during a requirement gathering process a discussion may get derailed or may get uh, uh, taken in a direction which is not relevant to the problem which is being modeled. So a data model helps to keep the discussions focused. What are the benefits of a modeling process itself? It enhances communication among the participants. It is a common business language for communication. It helps, like sessions like fact-finding sessions, fosters consensus and team building uh, activities. And during the early project phases, model development, it brings together all the various entities to the modeling table. That is the business BA, the third party vendor, the data modeler, the testing lead, the BA, the management a person from the senior management, all can become a part of this particular exercise so as to understand what is being designed and how it is going, and whether the design is going to focus on the business requirement. So it provides a structured forum. Even the architects also gets involved during the data modeling stage. So what are the other advantages of a data model? During the session, okay, participants are generally able to better see how their activities, okay, this is the point where tester will align itself to the testing task and he will understand how his role is being or would be analyzed further going or would be seen further going, and it helps other stakeholders to understand how their activities fit into the larger context, and this actually promotes cooperation rather than separation among the entire team. Over time, this can lead to a shift in values and the reinforcement of a cooperative philosophy. History of data modeling, I am just leaving it for the audience to understand the history on the. Initially, we had file systems. Thereafter, hierarchy databases were brought into picture, where every child will have only one parent. However, in the network databases, a child can have multiple parents. In a relational database or in a relational data model, the it is like a child can have a multiple parents and a parent can have multiple child. An object data model actually used the hierarchy, abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and specialization features of an object or a class-oriented language into the relational database. However, object data models are good for extracting and processing small chunks of information and not for large chunks of information. As a result, they couldn't pick up well in the market. Also, relational data model was first introduced and the skill was readily available. However, for object data models, the skills were rare and was not picked up well in or received well in the market. And hence came an object relational data model which was created by relational database companies to combat competition from the object data model. So you can just read that those history on your own. Now, case tools are computer-aided software engineering products for data modeling activities, and those available in the market is the market leader CA Irwin Data Modeler, IBM InfoSphere Data Architect, ER Studio, MS Visio, Oracle Designer, Quest Data Modeler. Quest uh, is a is a product used to access DB2 or Oracle. It is a uh, it is a vendor specific client, and even that it has its own data model inbuilt. Sybase Power Designer. These are the few data modeling tools which a person should be aware of. There are numerous data modeling tools that are available in the market to create conceptual, logical, and physical data model. The curve or the learning curve for these tools is short. However, achieving excellence in data modeling practice takes a lot of time. So data modeling is something which cannot be taught. However, a tool can be easily taught to any person. The uh, the flip side is a data modeler many a times focuses more on tools and less on standards, procedures, policies, governance, understanding of business, and all those things which are core to a data modeling exercise. Also, a person or a data modeler has to focus more on organizing data and rather than applying standards to data management for data management. Documentation of a data model for data modeling. Over the net, you can find a lot of information over data modeling. Some are conflicting, some are in line, so they can be misleading. However, the best place to have a to understand data modeling is the vendor specific documentation which is shipped along with the product or the data modeling tool which you are going to use. It explains features provided by the tool as well as it dives deep into data modeling concepts related to those features. Modeling methodologies are of two types: bottom up and top down. Bottom up is good for re-engineering efforts uh, like migration projects. Top down is good for new developments and where one has to start from in an abstract way and move ahead. Two methods of or two notations which are quite popular in data modeling are IDF1X and information engineering. IDF1X was developed by US Air Force and is widely used by governmental agencies in aerospace and financial industry. However, IE is more popular among the data modeler community because it has its crow's feet kind of notation which is easily understood by a very large audience without any prior training or any information to them. It is quite intuitive in its way, and both are used rigorously for large models. The other modeling techniques which you can see are UML and the Barker system, and the outcome of a data modeling exercise is a data dictionary which defines or which is a thorough documentation of the system for uh, and it consists of what data elements definitions are, what table definitions are, what is why a particular entity relationship is there, what data structures are there, what is the data flow, what is the process which is being modeled. Each and every minute thing is encompassed in this particular data dictionary. What is the, the qualified data modeler? Okay, modeling skills that are fundamental to the position includes modeling environment, entity relationship models, data model maintenance, normalized and dimensional modeling, and modeling tool proficiency. This is what we have already seen in the past slides. Further to that, standards such as naming, abbreviations, definitions, and diagrams which needs to be created must ensure consistency and adherence to sound practices. Definitions should be or must be consistent across all the data models or all the subject areas of a particular data model. Data modeler must have a clear understanding of the relationship integrity rules, of the grains of fact and dimensions, the dimensional hierarchies, and others. He must be able to anticipate the impact which will be generated in the upstream and downstream due to a particular change, and he should be able to uh, proactively act on it and highlight it to the business so as to avoid the change if possible and minimize the impact if it is not possible. Data model maintenance is of great challenge than creation. Maintenance is really a great challenge. The first flow of data model, that is creating the first time a logical data model, then creating for the first time a physical data model and generating the script and executing in the database is a fun. It gives a great amount of satisfaction, but when it comes to adding a particular entity to a logical data model or changing a particular relationship uh, or changing the cardinality of a particular relationship or changing primary key. It's a big headache task, especially when there is a lot of data which is already generated and occupied in the database. And or even for that case, adding a not null column is a very big difficult task, because there is a there is data in the table already existing, and if you want to add a column which is with not null attributes is very difficult, because the existing tables or existing rows will have null columns, and however you need a not null value, so you need to first create a nullable column, thereafter put some dummy values, and then create or alter the column to a not null characteristics. Data modeler must be able to develop and validate information flow model. That is the data, how the data will be processed and will flow from the database, from the relational database to the various other entities within that particular database, and finally into the BI environment through data warehouse. Modeling tool proficiency encompasses understanding of how to import data structures that can be used as starting points, or how to efficiently use the tool or leverage the features of tools for greater productivity and increased accuracy. Familiarity with modeling techniques is a must. Analytic competencies of a data modeler includes understanding of the business scope, focus, uh, business focus, information gathering, information synthesis, and recognition of a good enough model. That's what they say. A modeling exercise cannot be ended. You can just create a good enough model and wait for so as to which actually resolves the business problem, and wait for the new requirement which comes in, or the new change request which gets along with it, which comes in next. The most important skill of a data modeler is a communication capability. He should be very good at communication, and not only verbal but even written communication, so as to dispose right information to the stakeholders. As you can see, model can never be complete. A good enough model is means to an end, and understand what needs to be completed so that it can be handed off to the database administrator and the programmer. Temporal data modeling techniques will be we will be covering it in a very brief manner. It is a time-aligned data structures, or rather a temporal data model can loosely be defined as a data model that represents not only data items and their inherent structure, but also changes to the model and its content over time. That is, what particular information is valid for a particular time period is what is given or described in a temporal data model. That is what. Importantly, when these changes occurred or when they were valid. So a particular information is valid from only for for the first quarter of a year, and from the second quarter some other information is valid. So let's say the price of a product changes in the is 10 rupees in the first quarter, and in the second quarter it is 20 rupees. So when the revenue is calculated at the end of year for X sales, X amount of sales which has happened in the first quarter, the price should be taken as 10 rupees, and for the Y amount of sales which has happened in the second quarter, the value or the value should be 20 rupees, which needs to be taken. As such, temporal or historical data models distinguish themselves from traditional data models in that they incorporate one additional dimension, that is the time dimension. So a time dimension is seen or envisioned by in two ways. One is the system period, that is your calendar way of judging the time, and second is the application period or the business way of judging the time.